Hey guys, what's going on? So I just wanted to make a quick video on my level 82 ball lightning Sorc and killing Uber Lilith. This is just kind of like a general video of killing Lilith, skipping most of the mechanics at a lower level in season 2 because everything's so buffed. It's definitely a feasible thing, and if any of you guys are around like level 70, 80 and you're newer to the game, or you haven't killed Lilith before, or you're not super familiar with the fight, and you're playing ball lightning, how you could possibly kill her just earlier on, instead of having to work your way up. And all of this is pretty much assuming that you have the damage to do it. And I'm going to go over the fight after. I just wanted to show you, this isn't a build guide, but I just wanted to break down kind of like the general build and some of the aspects and stuff that I'm using. So this is like the teleport version of the build, which is probably not even, a lot of this build is not optimal for killing bosses, and I think I killed her first at like level 78 or something. So you really don't need to be super optimal, and if you were and you had the gear for it at like level 70 when you first get to World Tier 4 or whatever, I'm sure it's possible. But I randomly decided to give her a try because I noticed how strong my damage was earlier on, and I was able to kill her with a few specific things, mechanics being kept in mind that I wanted to just kind of go over with you guys if you're unaware of like certain timings and certain phases that she has. But basically, yeah, I'm running the teleport version of ball lightning, and this is more again for speed. You could swap that out for firebolt or something like that, fireball, just for the added damage. Damage reduction versus a boss like Lilith is kind of irrelevant because most of her attacks are going to one-shot you anyway. So there's going to be a lot of stuff in this build that's not really optimized for a boss fight, but that just means that if you're close to being able to kill her, you could probably tweak a few things to do that. So yeah, just real quick, these are my abilities. I'm running max strength, teleport, unstable currents, and this is definitely an important one, because the second phase we want to nuke her, and we're basically going to hold unstable currents and pop it at the beginning of the second phase. Ice armor, I don't even think I used this once during the fight. You don't need to. Flame shield is another very important ability. This is going to give us immune and unstoppable. There's one part of the first phase where you absolutely do need this, and then potentially in the second phase, depending on how fast you get her down. But it's nice to have too. Gives you. I actually went deep in a flame shield, so gives me movement speed and mana cost reduction while it's active. But that's not really needed. The main part of this is that while it's active, you're immune, so you can't take damage. Very important. Ice blades is really just kind of the filler ability. It mostly procs my Talrashas, but I'll kind of get into that in a minute. And then ball lightning, this ability is insane this season, and it does just crazy amounts of damage with this build. So that's pretty much it. And just FYI, I'm not like, I've been following build guides for sure. I only got started on the season a couple weeks ago, so I'm super late to it, and I don't have a ton of hours in D4 in general. But I just want to make this video just to help out anyone who is curious about this stuff. So I'm just going to do a quick overview of like gear and abilities and stuff. So if you have, for me personally, I've grinded a few like Varshan runs, a few Duriel runs, not many, so my gear is definitely not optimized. But if you're just hitting World Tier 4, I think it'll be a lot more difficult until you get some 925 gear. So definitely do some Hell Tides, do some of your, Blood New Zone, Blood Farm, Blood Harvest. Get some mats so that you can go summon Varshan, summon Grigor, and then maybe a couple Duriel kills, and hopefully you'll have some uniques or just some good 925 gear that you can go into Lilith with, because that's really all you need. and just make sure you have the right aspects. So if you have Godslayer Crown for this build, it's definitely better for bosses. I didn't use it. I just got mine, but it's definitely a little bit stronger versus single target. But most of my gear is just gonna be like 925. Disobedience, again, kind of irrelevant for Lilith. Raiment, which I don't think I actually have when I killed her. I recently just got that, but you just run any defensive chest piece, or and honestly even one with like damage. The aspect on this, I don't even remember what I was using because it was kind of irrelevant. This build really only needs a few specific aspects to function. Gloves is the gravitational for this build. That's like your must-have. That's the staple. It makes it so that your ball lightnings orbit around you. That's a huge part of the build. Pants, I have Tibalt's Will, but you could run just whatever pants you want. The defensive's not going to matter a whole lot. Just put on whatever you think is going to be the most useful. If you're running regular pants, ranks of ball lightning would be huge. It's a lot of extra damage. For the boots, Ghostwalkers is good. You don't need the movement speed in this fight particularly, but you don't use Flicker Step with this build because the way that the teleport enchant works, it doesn't work out with Flicker Step. So you just run regular boots, which is nice to get the mana cost reduction, and you get some added damage and the ranks teleport. So for the weapons, any dagger, again, mine's definitely not optimized. I'm running control. I might swap to Elementalist aspect on my main hand at some point, but so far control has been really great for me. And I don't think the damage difference between this and Elementalist is super far off, so use whichever one you prefer. Elementalist with the Talrashas, I think is maybe more consistent, but for the offhand, Conceited, very strong because we pretty much always have a barrier with this build because we're just teleporting around everywhere. And we have max evade charges on the boots too, which is another big thing. You want either max evade or attacks reduce evade's cooldown. Attacks reduce evade's cooldown is probably a little bit better for Lilith now that I think about it, because you don't really need to evade a whole lot. But yeah, anyways, Conceited for the offhand. And again, you can see like this offhand is just kind of crap. I'm just using it because I think it's one of the few 900 plus offhands I've gotten, so I'm just going for the high DPS. None of the stats on it. Like the mana cost reduction is nice, but you know, I'm only 20% on the Conceited, so you know, again, a lot of my gear is definitely not optimized, and that's because I'm still low level, so I'm still farming, looking for better gear. But it just kind of goes to show you that the fight's not super hard in this season for this build especially. Ring Talrashas, if you don't have Talrashas, you could run, I mean, this is pretty important for the way I have my build set up, but you could run like Elementalist on your ring or something, and you'd probably be fine. A big part of this build getting online too, and something that probably like low level 70s up till the high level 70s that was a big transition, was just making sure you get the mana stuff on point on your gear. So resource generation and mana cost reduction, those, like having those where you need them is going to be big for just sustainability. And you know, again, I was optimizing all this towards like Nightmare Dungeon stuff and just farming, but it's definitely important in boss fights too. You need to be able to spam ball lightning pretty much nonstop. It's not as important because you're spawning the way that the crackling energy spawns in the boss fights is definitely more lenient for not having crazy regeneration, but it's still nice to have. So Talrashas, which we are going to proc 4 stacks of this by using Ice Blades, Flame Shield, Ball Lightning, and one of the seasonal seasonal vampiric powers infection that's going to proc poison. So that's why Tel Rush is a huge bonus for this build. I'll go over the seasonal thing in a minute, but then we're using recharging, and I've, low roll on this. But definitely a huge part of your resource generation. But I mean, you can just imagine I can have double the mana regen on this, and yeah, this build is already insane. But if I was to optimize it, I can only imagine how fast you can kill Lilith. But recharging is another must-have aspect, and definitely put it on the ring because that's where it's going to fit best. Then on the neck, Storm Swell. Everything's pretty much always vulnerable, so, and we almost always have a barrier. Actually, I believe in the clip that I'm going to show, I didn't even really use my teleport and stuff, so I was just missing a lot of damage just on the barrier. But again, it just goes to show you kind of how crazy this build is. So real quick, the vampiric powers I'm using, and this is not optimized for bosses either. I'll let you know kind of maybe one thing you can swap out. Ravenous, that is definitely a really good one. Attack speed, we run a lot of movement speed, so attack speed's great. Attack speed just increases ball lightning damage. Undying is one you could swap out. You don't really need defensives versus Lilith. You could run Prey on the Weak. It's probably a little bit stronger, but again, I didn't need to. It's whatever you prefer. Domination, if you have Raiment, is really good. If you don't, you can swap that out, as well as Conceited. If you're not really CCing anything, then just swap those out to something a bit more consistent. A lot of these will work fine. Like Call Familiar, I'm sure would be fine. I like Anticipation, and there is one thing I wanted to get into, to where when I was first trying this and struggling to my damage wasn't quite there. There was a version where I was able to pop Unstable Currents twice, once in the first phase at the start of the fight, and then again I was able to get it up for the second phase at the start of the second phase, which is when you absolutely do need it, because you want to be able to skip all those second phase mechanics. Anticipation is really good at that, but once I got to a certain point in my damage, then it didn't matter, because I was killing her in the first phase too quick to be able to get this cooldown low enough. There might be a way to do it, just running a bunch of CDR and maybe some other aspects and stuff like that, but I just run Anticipation because I like it in general, just for farming and all that. But you could swap that out. It's kind of relevant here. You're only going to pop Unstable Currents once. And then Infection, the proc Tel Rushes, pretty straightforward. And then my Paragon is definitely, it's pretty much just like the max roll Paragon. Maybe a couple slight differences, but my glyphs aren't leveled at all. I mean, my adept is almost 15, but that's pretty much it. I'm running adept on my first board. Second board, I'm running Static Surge with reinforced. Again, the damage reduction here is irrelevant for Lilith. I'm running charge. Excuse me. I'm running charge with Enchantment Master, but again, it's just for the nodes. I'm running Territorial on the Ceaseless Conduit board, and then I've just started into Burning Instinct, and yeah, I just basically went down and get some defensive nodes right now, but nothing super special here. Adept is pretty good. Honestly, if there was one I would level up first, like Adept on the first board is pretty huge. Gives you 57% mastery skill damage, very nice, and increased area. I would definitely go for that first. And then if you could pick up Static Surge for the vulnerable, that's also very nice. My skill tree is super basic. I'll just kind of show you real quick, but a lot of this stuff is not really all that relevant. I am running Veer's Mastery. I've heard it's bugged, but and Issa's Ferocity actually works, but I've had no problems with Veer's Mastery. Yeah, so that's pretty much that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. I do want to kind of just get into the fight because that's mostly what this video is about. And yeah, let's hop into it. Alright guys, this is like my third time recording this. Definitely new to the video editing stuff, but let's get into the fight. So before it starts, I'm just going to kind of break down some of the basic stuff that I really wanted to touch on in this video, and that is, we need to get, in the first phase, we need to get Lilith to a certain threshold. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's somewhere around like 60%, but basically we need to get her, when she flies up for the first time, we need to get her to a certain point so she spawns a certain number of ads. You want her to be spawning the 3 ads so that she gives us the triangle pattern, and that will make your life a lot easier. On the off chance that you don't get her that low and you're still able to kill her, you need to kind of learn the other wave pattern, the parallel one. But that's not really what this video is about. Basically, in this iteration, we want to get her to spawn the 3 ads and do the triangle pattern, and then from there we pretty much just kill her. You pop flame shield, she's going to land in the middle of the triangle, you're going to pop flame shield and be immune, and then we kill her and go on to phase 2. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, but basically at the start of the fight, when you run in, you're going to pop as many ball lightnings as you can before she spawns. She's going to land and push you out of the way here. Then you're just going to teleport back into her and pop flame shield. And it's very important that you don't use unstable currents here. We're saving unstable currents for phase 2 because it's definitely needed much more in phase 2. And unless you have a ton of CDR, which is unlikely if you have enough damage to do the skip mechanic, then you definitely want to save it. Don't bother popping ice barrier. Definitely pop flame shield right away though, because assuming you have enough CDR, it should be back up by the time she lands and you need to use it. And you also want to proc your Tal Rushes. So she's going to land, we're going to teleport back into her, pop flame shield, and then just spam ball lightning. And you'll kind of see what that looks like here. We're just going to kind of nuke her down. Again, the damage of this build is insane. Another big mistake I made throughout this fight was definitely not using teleport enchant to trigger conceded aspect. I'm definitely not the best Diablo player here. I missed a lot of stuff, but you want to be using evade or teleport when you can. You just want to have a barrier up at all times just to increase damage, not necessarily for survivability. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Any of these small things that I missed, try to stay on top of it. But she's gonna fly up here, as we can see, and then if you got her low enough, she's gonna do that pattern where she spawns three ads and does a triangle wave pattern. She'll land again, and here's where she spawns the ads, and we pretty much killed her again, but she still has to go through this animation phase. So you basically just nuke the ads. If for some reason you miss a boil before you actually kill her, just try and get the boil down, because those definitely can potentially kill you. But here she's going to fly back up again, and then she's going to give us the triangle pattern, and she's just going to land right in the middle. So you just want to time your flame shield so that you're immune when she lands. So kill all the ads, and here you see the triangle on the ground. She's just going to go right in the middle. We pop flame shield, so we're immune. She lands, and she goes into phase 2. So that's pretty much the first phase. Again, if you don't get her low enough, if you're not there on the damage yet, try and just maybe tweak or if you have to, just kind of keep farming until you have enough gear and enough power, enough damage to kind of nuke her that quickly. It's definitely possible, again, if you have CDR, to pop unstable currents in phase 1 and you know, there's definitely some workarounds, but this is kind of just the variation that I found success with. So when we go into start phase 2, you're going to see me kind of run in like a weird way off to the right. That's because I don't want to pick up these crackling energies just yet. So I'll show you and then I'll explain why. So I'm kind of just avoiding picking up all those crackling energies, and that's because there's a pretty long period of time between the end of phase 1 and then when she actually spawns in phase 2, and we want to save those crackling energies for mana regen, so that we have as many ball lightnings as we can up when she spawns in phase 2. Excuse me. So we're kind of just standing off to the side, just waiting, and you'll know, for me, a good indicator of when to start popping ball lightnings is right in the center on that circle, is where she spawns. You'll see like a pool of blood start to spawn, and that's usually, if you have roughly this many crackling energies, that's usually a good time to start popping your ball lightnings and start picking up the crackling energies and get them rolling. If you have a way more than this, which is definitely possible, feel free to start a bit sooner, but around when you see that blood pool start spawning in the middle is a good time to start popping your stuff and picking up all those crackling energies. So you kind of see that here, start spawning, start popping your ball lightnings, and here is where basically she's about to actually spawn. You're pretty much just going to pop everything. You're going to teleport Unstable Currents and Flame Shield to trigger tail rushes, and you're just going to nuke the crap out of her. And the goal here is to get her, I think it's like 60%, but basically get her to not spawn the blood boils before she flies up and goes into the next part of the fight. So we're just nuking her as hard as we can, and we're definitely melting her pretty quick here. So we definitely have her low enough where she's not going to spawn those pools, and she's just going to fly up. And so here the pattern's always the same. She's going to go to the north side of the platform, and then each time she flies up and lands somewhere else, she's going to do this part of the fight where part of the platform like breaks off, and then there's a wave on the other side. So it's just literally like a timing thing to where you have to run across to the other side of the platform at a certain point in time, or teleport or whatever. It's not that hard once you kind of get used to it, but the pattern in which she does it, the direction is always going to be the same. So she's going to go to this north side, and we haven't quite killed her yet, but by the time she lands, she's pretty much dead, and the fight's pretty much over here. You don't really have to do much else after this point except avoid falling off the platform or getting hit by the wave on the other platform. So here you can see the top half of this platform is breaking, and the bottom half has that dark kind of hue to it, and it's going to have a red wave. Once this red wave here you see at the bottom of the screen is kind of dissipated, that's when you know you're good to move like that. I mean, I even went a little bit early there, but that's kind of the timing for each of the platform transitions when you can go. So that top one will go, and then she's going to go to the east side or the northeast side of this platform. And again, you don't really have to even do damage to her here, but might as well. And then she's going to do the same thing here. Just wait for it and then move. Then she's actually going to land in the middle here, and this would typically be where she does some other special attacks, but since we've basically already killed her, she's just going to land, realize she's dead, and then fly back up, and then she's going to go to this northwest side here, and it's just going to be the same thing. She's going to destroy this part of the platform. You're going to go to the other side, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this fight. She's going to land here. Here I would actually recommend popping some ball lightnings and doing damage. I think I had it once in my rogue to where I pretty much killed her, but I didn't do any damage in this specific instance, and she ended up doing her wave attack, which if that happens to you, it's not hard to avoid. They're basically there's like 3 lines that kind of like a cleave that you just have to avoid, and if you have multiple evade charges, you should be fine. Also with flame shield, just try and dodge it. But she's just going to land here, just pop a few more ball lightnings, and that's pretty much it. And killed her. So it's not too difficult if you have the damage. And again, I was kind of going over the build a little bit. But honestly, this build's so strong, you could probably do it at like level 70 if you had the gear and stuff for it. But basically, the for me, the main thing for this fight was, even when I had less damage, was making sure I'm saving unstable currents for the second phase, and also saving all those cracking energies at the beginning of phase 2, because phase 1's not as important. You can kind of get there even if you don't get her down super quickly. The patterns are a bit easier to maneuver, but in phase 2 you really want to be able to skip the pools of blood and stuff like that. Makes the fight quite a bit more difficult, and also basically skips all the other mechanics if you get her down that low early on, and you can kill her on that first platform. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything about the build, or if you want to see any other videos for any other bosses or anything like that, just let me know. Again, I'm definitely new to the video editing and all this, so it's definitely kind of scuffed, but I'm gonna keep working on it. I'll probably come out with some new videos here and there, just on stuff that I find interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope this helps someone at least. But yeah, thanks guys.